In this exercise, we're going to look at animating text. So there's several ways we could think about it. We can have a sort of ticker tape style scrolling of text. We could use opacity as well and allow the letters to just simply appear. Or in this case, you can see all the letters co-join, stop for a moment, and then spin off again. So I'm going to talk you through a few of these techniques. So I've created a default document 550 times 400, but obviously you make the stage the size that you would like to work with. Choose your font, text tool, decide on the size, decide on the font and the color of that font. So if we look at the ticker tape, all I've done is typed out a word. On the first keyframe, it's outside of the stage. Then I've scrubbed along the timeline and stopped at about 1 second and moved the word in. And then I've moved along about half a second so that we want it to move in, and then we want it to stop. So I've added a keyframe to keep it stationary, and then extended the timeline and moved the text off. So very quickly. Text tool first. Choose your font over here and of course your color. And position the text. So I'm going to position that text in the middle of the screen. I'm going to align it to the stage. Let's just make it a little bit bigger as well. And in exactly the same way as we do with shapes, we're going to tell the timeline that there's going to be an animation on it. So select the object, select the frame, and then I'm going to put on a motion tween. Now I don't have to do any fancy business. It's simply, I know that at 1 second in, it's going to be in this position. So I'm going to pop a keyframe, click to pop in a keyframe there. But I'm going to go back to this keyframe. I'm going to start using these navigation tools, which allow me to go back and forwards between keyframes. So they're very helpful. And then at this point, we want it off screen. I'm going to hold shift to constrain it so it doesn't wobble. Let go of my mouse first. So it's going to come into the screen, onto the stage, and then I need to extend it and hold it there for about half a second. So I'm going to come along to this keyframe here, and I'm going to create another keyframe. Now that will copy. Generally when you insert a keyframe along the timeline, it copies the previous keyframe. And that's going to hold it there for a second. Then I know I want another 1 second, so I'm going to take it to 3 seconds over here, maybe just slightly less. And I'm going to ask for another keyframe, and this time I'm going to pull it off to the side. So we have a ticker tape effect. Stops, and then it rolls off again. Sorts of things you see on the NASDAQ building in New York, and you see on television all the time going underneath picture on news channels, for instance. So of course I can put on a background color. The second one that I want to look at is this movement. So bringing it together and then breaking it apart. It's the same thing. We have to hold it together and then we animate all the parts. Well, the problem that I have is this is a unit, and as you can see when I was moving it about, it's a unit of text all held together in one place. So we need to find a way to break that apart. going to create a new document, and we'll just once again start with some text. So I'm just clicking and we'll say text. Again, I'm going to make sure it's the size that I want it. This time I need a bit more space around it, so I'll keep it fairly small. And I'm going to align it into the center of the document. Now, in my example, I also had a drop shadow, and you'll find drop shadows in your filter. Okay, so if I click plus, I can apply a drop shadow. But what's going to happen is the minute I try and do some more work on this, it's going to lose the drop shadow. So in order to animate each individual letter, the first thing that I need to do is to break apart the unit of text. So I'm going to say modify, break apart, but as you can see, I've lost the drop shadow. You can just pop that back on again. So if you want to work with a drop shadow, just put it back on again. But now all of these are individual letters that we can move and do stuff with. The problem I've got is they're all in the same layer. And if you remember what I've said in previous exercises, for each bit of animation, I need a separate layer. So what I can do is I can select all of the letters and I can right click and I can say distribute to layers. You can also distribute to keyframes if you wanted them just to appear one by one. But I'm going to say distribute to layers. Now, as you can see, they're all ready for animation. Now, what I'll need to do is I need to tell each individual layer there is going to be animation on the layer. But instead of doing it one by one, I can click on the first one, hold shift, click on the last one, and then do them en masse. So I can come up to create motion layer and it'll pop a motion layer on all of the layers, extend them by 1 second. So you've got a starter timeline, and then you can start working. Now, what we know is at some point we want them all to be together in the middle of the screen. So it's really important that at some point there's a keyframe that stops them. Okay, so I'm going to put a keyframe here, and again I'm going to select them all. So I'm going to select them all this way. I'm going to select the layer and all the way down this time. And because my playhead is actually at frame 24, that's where the keyframe will get applied when I click add keyframe. So now I know I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to come along for maybe about half a second and select all of the frames and add another keyframe. So the change is going to occur not here, not really here. It's going to occur over here. And then of course I need the outward part as well. So I'm going to come along to the first frame and just address all of these letters. So I'm just going to pull them out because they're going to zoom in from each corner. And that's all happening on the first keyframe. So let's just play that. So they're coming together and then they're going to stop. And then I'm going to have them flying out. So I need to establish another keyframe further along. So again, I'm going to give them about the same distance here. So I'm going to go up to frame number 70, select all the frames, add a keyframe, and then I'm going to mix it up so they're all going to go in the opposite directions. This one's going to come down here. This one's going to go up here this time. And that can go over here. And that one can go up there. So hopefully I'll put them in different positions. So I'm just checking where the spline is going. That's fine. Let's just have a look at that. So that's nice. I could add to it a little twist. So we can go to each individual letter. I'm going to do it on the first, oh sorry, on the last keyframe, and I'm just going to use the transform tool to just turn it a little bit. So just to mix it up and just give it a little bit more interest. Get hold of it. And just turning them all in different directions. And so they come in straight, stop, and then they fly out at an angle. And that's how I achieve the moving text.